tengo, tenido, tenía, tuve. How are you going to keep these conjugations straight? Welcome back to our Top 10 series, where I show you how to use the top 10 conjugations of the most common Spanish verbs so that you can master them for everyday speech. Today we're going to conquer tener. And as usual, we're going to use flashcards to quiz you on each verb form. You can download these flashcards for free using the link in the description. Then, by the end of this video, you'll be using the most important conjugations of tener, like a native Spanish speaker. Let's start with just a list of the top 10 forms of tener. We chose these forms based on a frequency analysis of Spanish spoken by native Spanish speakers. According to this analysis, there are 600 words that make up over 70% of all words spoken in Spanish. And that list of 600 words includes only 10 forms of tener. These forms include 5 present tense forms, 2 past tense forms, 1 subjunctive form, the infinitive, and the participle. Let's dive in and practice using all of these. We'll start with the present tense, and these are 5 forms that you might already be familiar with. The word for I have is tengo. The word for he, she, or it has is tiene. The word for you have is tienes. We have is tenemos. And they have is tienen. So you'll use these to talk about something that you or someone else has, something that you own, or maybe something that you're holding. Here are some examples. I have a book. Tengo un libro. She has something else. Tiene algo más. Do you have a question? ¿Tienes una pregunta? We have lots of time. Tenemos mucho tiempo. They have many friends. Tienen muchos amigos. Notice that all of these sentences involve a conjugation of tener at the beginning and then something that the person has. Let's get a little bit of practice with this. I'm going to use some of our flashcards and I'll read you the English side first. See if you can guess which version of tener is going to be on the other side of the card. Okay, first example. They have something else. Tienen algo más. I have some questions. Tengo unas preguntas. He has a book. Tiene un libro. Do you have a lot of time? ¿Tienes mucho tiempo? We have lots of friends. Tenemos muchos amigos. All right, now let's add another layer to this. In all of these sentences, the thing that the person has is named after the verb. For example, in tiene un libro, we're naming the thing that the person has, a book. But tener is also used with direct object pronouns, which are little words that behave in interesting ways. For example, let's change this sentence from he has a book to he has it. This would be lo tiene. As you can see, the thing that he has used to be after tiene, but now it's before tiene. In Spanish, when you're naming the thing that someone has, you typically put that after the noun, just like you do in English. So you can see that in some of these sentences again. I have some questions. Tengo unas preguntas. He has a book. Tiene un libro. But in both English and Spanish, we can shorten each of these sentences to just use it or them. And we typically do this when it's clear from context what we're talking about. So these would change to I have them. Las tengo. He has it. Lo tiene. So anytime the thing that someone has is called it or them, you'll use a direct object pronoun and you'll put it before the form of tener rather than after it. And just to make this a little more fun, here are a couple of contexts where you'd be likely to do this. So here's a little exchange in English. Do you have the book? Yes, I have it. And here's that same exchange in Spanish. ¿Tienes el libro? Sí, lo tengo. And then let's do that with a feminine plural noun. Do they have good ideas? Yes, they have them. In Spanish, ¿tienen buenas ideas? Sí, las tienen. And in this video, I'm not going to make you figure out which direct object pronouns to use. If you want to explore that topic in depth, you should check out the LearnCraft Spanish podcast, which thousands of students have used to finally master direct objects in Spanish. For now, let's just keep practicing the verb tener with flashcards. But this time, you'll notice that some of these sentences are restructured so that they use direct object pronouns. In each case, try to predict the right version of tener. They have a big house. Tienen una casa grande. I have it here. Lo tengo aquí. She doesn't have time. No tiene tiempo. Do you have the phone? ¿Tienes el teléfono? Yes, I have it. Sí, lo tengo. Now let's move on to the past tense. And to do this, we're going to cover two ways to talk about the past. The first version is tenía, which means I had. You'll use this version of I had to describe what you had in the general past. For example, I had a dog. Tenía un perro. So what we're describing is something that I had in the general past at an unspecified time. But there are sometimes situations where you'll need to use a different version of the past, specifically when you mention something that happened one time as an event. In those cases, you'll need the word tuve. For example, I had a conversation with her. Tuve una conversación con ella. So in this case, having the conversation wasn't a general ongoing thing like having a dog. Instead, the conversation happened at a particular moment as an event. So that's a situation where I'll use tuve rather than tenía. Here's another example. I had an accident. This is something that happened once at a particular moment in the past. It was a one-time event. So in Spanish, we would say, tuve un accidente. All right, it's your turn. So I'm going to quiz you with some of our flashcards, and you should try to predict whether to use tenía or tuve. I had a party yesterday. Tuve una fiesta ayer. I had long hair. Tenía pelo largo. I had a meeting this morning. Tuve una reunión esta mañana. Back then, I had a small house. En ese entonces, tenía una casa pequeña. Now let's look at another tricky form, the subjunctive, which is tenga. In Spanish, you'll need the subjunctive anytime someone wants someone else to have something. The easiest way to practice this is with querer, which is the verb for to want. So you'll use a version of querer followed by que, and then followed by a phrase that contains tenga. For example, I want her to have this. Quiero que ella tenga esto. Literally, I want that she have this. Next, let's change it to I want him to have something. Quiero que él tenga algo. Literally, I want that he have something. For this video, we're just going to practice tenga to mean he, she, or it have. There are other subjunctive forms, but they don't make it to the top 10. Here are a couple more examples. I want her to have this book. Quiero que ella tenga este libro. I want my friend to have a dog. Quiero que mi amigo tenga un perro. Now let's practice with our flashcards. I want her to have a big party. Quiero que ella tenga una fiesta grande. I want him to have a good day. Quiero que él tenga un buen día. Next, let's look at the infinitive tener, which just means to have. This is the basic form of the verb, and it doesn't change based on who it's referring to. The easiest way to practice this is using a form of querer right before tener. For example, I want to have a cat. Quiero tener un gato. She wants to have more time. Quiere tener más tiempo. We want to have something else. Queremos tener algo más. As you can see, in each case, the word tener doesn't change. It's not conjugated. Instead, we've conjugated the verb querer right before it to agree with who we're talking about. And there's another form of tener that works the same way. The word tenido, which is what we call the past participle. This word means had, but in specific situations where someone has had something. For example, I have had a good day. In Spanish, this would be Yo he tenido un buen día. Now, what's weird here is the word that comes before tenido. In English, we say have had, but that first word, have, is not a form of tener. Instead, it's a conjugation of haber, which is the specific verb you'll use before participles like tenido. Subscribe to this channel for an upcoming video about haber and how to use it instead of tener. For now, let's keep practicing tenido. Here are a few examples. He has had a good day. Él ha tenido un buen día. They have had a good day. Ellos han tenido un buen día. You have had a good day. Tú has tenido un buen día. As you can see, the word tenido stayed the same in every case. It's just the word before it that changed. Now you should try practicing this. I'm going to shuffle together a few flashcards that use tener and tenido. See if you can predict which one to use. I want to have a good day. Quiero tener un buen día. I have had a good day. He tenido un buen día. She has had a good life. Ella ha tenido una vida buena. She wants to have a happy future. Quiere tener un futuro feliz. Ready to get even better at this? We have a set of 40 flashcards that you can download for free with even more examples of tener to practice with. Click the link in the description for the flashcards with all the examples that we covered in this video and even more. And then for some fun ways to use flashcards like these, you'll want to check out our other videos on using Spanish flashcards. Just subscribe to this channel and you'll get lots more grammar and study tips that'll get you speaking Spanish fluently faster than ever.